Good morning, everybody. If you're listening into this live, and good day if it's a different time of the day you're dialing in and watching a recorded episode. So my name's Gary Hales. I'm an action coach based in Dorset, helping local business owners like yourself grow your business and help your business give you the life that you want. I think this is episode 11 of our Munch and Learns. And this one's quite exciting and quite different to ones that we've done before, because we're going to delve into this world of cryptocurrencies. So I'll put my hand up and say, I don't know too much about it, but I'm learning as I go. But it's an area where it feels dangerous because it's finance and it's money and it's investment and it's in a whole different world. So I'm quite excited. We've got a real expert on this today who's going to fill us in and answer lots of questions for us and give us all an overview of what cryptocurrency is and how we can capitalize on this market. If you're live, just post some questions in the chat, then that's fine. If you're watching a recorded version, then come back to me or Will or your local coach, and we'll take any questions and get answers for you. So moving on, I'm going to introduce you to Will Wright, who's our expert. So Will, I'll let you sort of kick off. Give us a little bit of your story. What's got you into crypto, where you've come from, and just a high level sort of start. So we've got a feel of, how you've got to where you are and what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, sure, Gary. Nice to meet you, everyone. My name's Will Wright, and I'm the founder of Wealth and Loyalty, a cryptocurrency investment firm. So we specialize in fully managed portfolios for people. So how I started was in 2018, at the start of 2018 myself, personally investing. And I had two mentors at the time, fantastic mentors for about 3 months. And they were absolutely brilliant. They gave me lots of insight of learning how to trade and invest. They traded different markets to crypto. I went into crypto because I like the upside and I understood it straight away, to be honest with you. You invest in what you understand. If not, you find someone that understands it and they manage it for you. So at the end of 2018, I started the company, Wealth and Loyalty in the UK, and we've been going since then, and we've got a fantastic track record. Amazing clients. We've got absolutely fantastic clients. We've got business owners, families. It's a very mix of people and professional athletes as well. So we've got a really good mix of people, and it's going very well. It's exciting. We've built a very nice community of people. We've got a Telegram chat that we talk to our clients daily on. It's very exciting times. We're about to move into the new Bitcoin halving event next year, which kickstarts the bull market. So it's perfect timing, to be honest, to get involved with crypto. The number one thing is, as I said, understanding it before you actually invest into it. And hopefully I can explain it well today with Gary.
Okay, great. That's excellent. Thanks, Will. So 5 years experience in the market. So that sounds great for it being obviously a very new market as well. I guess sort of, you talked about the clients that you have, families, high net worth individuals, sports people, etc. And most of them are sort of, well aware of investment in property and other assets, as well as stocks and shares, etc. So why do they go into crypto?
The money, the upside.
Good reason, is any?
I always say, when people say it's not about the money, it always is about the money, in my opinion. I mean, it's the exact same for our clients. They want to make money. They're not so much interested in the technology side of things. They go, look, how much am I going to make? And then we say, this is the projections of returns. It's the money side of things. It outperforms every single investment market by absolute miles. It doesn't even come into question. And that's absolutely vital right now with inflation. And also, and I don't want to scare people at all, a banking crisis. 6 banks in the USA have failed recently. Recently, there's reports I saw yesterday of Bank of Germany, the central bank in Germany. They're looking a bit, things are a bit rocky. So it's a fantastic hedge against inflation and a fantastic hedge against also the banks as well. And you can never be too safe with that, diversifying into different markets.
Okay, great. So let's just sort of take a step back for everybody now then, Will. So that sort of answers the question of it's a great way to invest and make money. But what is crypto?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think that's the number one question for people here. So it's got a few notes written down as well to make sure
Sure.
I give you guys as much value as possible. So simply put, crypto is a digital asset that is backed by code and maths on the blockchain. It runs on the blockchain. So it is actually backed by something of value. The blockchain is what the cryptocurrency runs on, okay? And that's backed by the code and maths. So you can never actually debase that cryptocurrency. Keep in mind, there is many different cryptocurrencies. So let's take Bitcoin, for example. There's 21 million Bitcoins. Now, you can't debase that in terms of adding more than 21 Bitcoins to the supply.
Sorry, Will, just a quick question. What do you mean by debase?
So with the fiat currency, like the pound and US dollar, they print money, quantitative easing every single year, which debases that currency in terms of devalues that currency, hence inflation. So this is actually the opposite, which is deflationary assets. Hence why it's the best asset protection against inflation. So the asset actually gains value, deflationary instead of inflation, devalues, if that makes sense, which is very interesting for people that want to protect their wealth. It's very similar to commodities as well, not just a currency, in terms of they have the good ones. You've got to be very careful what you invest in, of course. The good ones have real world value. They're actually solving real world problems for people, such as cross-border payments. So I'm sure many people have had the headache of using PayPal and banks to send money overseas and waiting days for the transaction to settle. It's very time consuming, it's costly, there's counterparty risk for the banks, not just the customer. There's tied up capital as well, there's inflation risk. Crypto solves that problem in terms of allowing instant settlement for banks and financial institutions and the customer, which is absolutely amazing. It saves money, it saves time, and it cuts counterparty risk off completely, which is absolutely vital.
Yeah, sorry, just to jump in with another question there, Sen. So if I'm purchasing, there'll be business owners listening in on this who do international trade and particularly out in Europe, etc., and various other places. So if I'm paying for something to somebody in France or Australia or something using cryptocurrency, do they have to have a cryptocurrency? So if I'm paying in Bitcoin, do they have to have a Bitcoin account as well? Does it work that way?
Okay. Yeah, that is correct. There's actually a cryptocurrency that we're heavily invested in, that's working with the actual banks, and it's got banks invested into it heavily. Very extremely wealthy people that are invested into this investment, and that's the new payment system. So it allows instant settlement. It saves the banks loads of money. It cuts the counterparty risk off completely. And for us, the business owners and customers, amazing for cash flow. If we could move money instantly all around the world, that would solve many economic problems in the world today. And that is for sure.
Yeah. So one of the questions that comes up quite regularly when you talk about crypto on both sides of the coins is security and confidentiality.
Yeah.
So I understand it's completely confidential. Nobody can track it and all those sorts of things, which is a positive and a negative for money laundering and things like that. So just sort of expand on that sort of security, money laundering aspect, just give us an insight into that.
Yeah, sure, Gary. So I think the main point here is there's a lot of misconception with it. If people were money laundering, everything is tracked on the blockchain. So every transaction is actually tracked. So technically speaking, it could be the worst thing to use if people were going to do that. There's a lot of misconception with it, I think. And then you do have privacy coins as well. But the bottom line is every transaction on the blockchain is recorded. And the major thing with blockchain is anything put onto the blockchain, so transactions, data, Everything's in a data pack. Nothing can be deleted from that blockchain.
So if
And
I'm
that is
paying,
massively valuable.
okay, so if I'm paying something to somebody in Eastern Europe or something,
Yeah.
there's risk or no risk of me being, a victim of fraud or anything like that. If, as you say, it's being tracked, it can always be, you can always follow the money trail, I guess.
You can follow the money trail, but there is, if you don't have a contract with a person or know that person, I would not recommend that. That's
Okay.
for sure.
Mm.
That is the slight problem in terms of, yes, you can track where that money has gone to, but guessing it back is another story. That might be harder. I'm sure there is companies out there that can help, hopefully. But as I said, make sure you know the business is legit and the person, and you know the person before you do that. That's what I would recommend anyway.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, in terms of the market at the moment, then, Will, currently, do people use, cryptocurrencies more for an investment through your company, or are they using it for international trade and payments, or what's the trends?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So our major investment is the new payment system, which has been used by some banks and financial institutions. The adoption rate is growing very fast. I think from last year to now, it's up over 20x in terms of it being used by institutions. So that is a massive state of demand there. And what's interesting is this asset is extremely undervalued because the price is still nice and low, yet the adoption rate is 20x from where it was a year ago, which is amazing. And so our style of investing is value investors. We're not in and out of the market like crazy people. We're very sophisticated investors. It's very old school in terms of we buy something that's undervalued to market price, keep it long term, and slowly, gradually take profits off the table for our clients. And right now we're positioned at very nice undervalued market prices.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a mixture of both, Gary, but I would say the adoption rate is absolutely amazing. I can't remember the exact rate. I don't want to mislead people, but crypto is growing at a much faster rate than the internet was. And I can't remember the exact numbers, but it is growing at a faster rate than the internet.
Yeah.
And we all know how big the internet is now. So yeah, it's very exciting. That is for sure.
So let's delve a little bit deeper into value, because obviously that's key for people. Having seen Bitcoin be $60,000 plus whatever it was last year, and then dropping down to, I'm not sure what it is now, 20,000 or something along those lines.
30K right now. Yeah.
30, yeah. So it's always sort of amazed me how you can look at it, because if you look at stocks and shares, you look at the performance of a company, you can sort of anticipate where that company's going because they've got to issue reports and financial reports, etc. If you're looking at currencies, normally you'd look at a country and the value of that currency. Whereas when you look at cryptos, how do you sort of know when it's going to go back up to 60 or down to 10? Because there's no sort of tangible data, and obviously I could be very wrong there, data to sort of anticipate, and history, the past is an indicator of future performance and all those sorts of things. So so how are people investing, and why is what you're saying, are the returns so much higher in crypto than other traditional investments?
Yeah, okay. So I think the number one thing here is making sure you invest into something that is solving an actual problem in the world. There's many assets out there in the crypto space that aren't actually adding any value, helping people, helping businesses, etc., adding value to the world. There's a lot of they're called meme coins or meme coins, however you say it. We don't touch them with a barge pole. We stay very clear away from them because they are bad news and they've got no value at all.
And are these the sort of like Dogecoin and things like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because that was a question I was going to ask, what's the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum? And I think you said there were 21 different types of coins. So is that what you're referring to? There's more reliable coins than there's really...
I think off the top of my head, I think there's around 10,000 cryptocurrencies right now.
Okay.
So most of them are complete garbage, if I'm very honest with you.
Yeah.
They are adding no value to the world. This is why you have to do your due diligence and understand what value and what problem that asset is solving for the world. Hence why we invest into a new payment system that's working with the bank. There's massive value there. In terms of the rate of return, it's a really good question. And first of all, this is the first brand new asset class since the 1600s, which is, 400 years ago, a very long time ago, when the stock market came out. So obviously people that invested early days into the stock market and oil as well would have made massive generational wealth. And the same opportunity is here, that is for certain. So simply put, with the cryptocurrency market, there's around $1 trillion in this market. So that's the market cap, as they call it. With the real estate market, it's around 217 trillion roughly. It might be a little bit more now. With stocks, it's around $100 trillion as well. So when you look at the early stages of how much money is in this market, we are at a very early stage. And with that comes extreme upside, because with smaller amounts of money in the market, there's more volatility. But with volatility, there's massive upside. And as long-term investors, if you're investing, 10 years, 20 years anyway, would it make sense to invest into the one that's going to give you the best returns? In my opinion, yes. I think that makes sense.
So looking at that, one of the things that's always confused me a little bit is that there are a limited number of coins. So how does that work then? Are you sort of going into the market and buying coins from others who own coins, and does supply and demand drive the value as well?
Of course, yeah. So supply and demand is absolutely massive. And also adoption rates. As I said, we can look into the data of, okay, is this asset actually being used in the real world? Or is it just a meme and influencers on Twitter and YouTube? Everyone's an expert, all that stuff, promoting it. The numbers don't lie. Exactly the same as looking at revenue for stocks. You can look at the data in terms of the adoption rates and what problem it's solving. So there is a lot of data there to look at in terms of value in these assets as well, similar to commodities in that regard, and stocks in a way. But in my opinion, they're very similar to commodities and currencies. That is how I would explain it. It's very similar to oil and gold. Gold is a commodity. It's used in watches, etc., etc. It's used as money as well. And the same can be said for Bitcoin.
Okay. Just a question that's come to mind. This might not be your area of expertise, so you may not know the answer to this one. But if you're looking at a business owner who has, £100,000 in Bitcoin, etc., where does that sit on their balance sheet? Where is it based? Is it because it's, if you're with a bank in the UK, your assets sit in a bank account in the UK, or your cash, etc., and your assets are recorded in your financials. When you look at it from a current cryptocurrency point of view, does that sit on the balance sheet, or is that outside? How's it regulated, I guess, is sort of the question from an HMRC point of view. Yeah, and FCA point of view.
Yeah, it's a very good question. There is regulation to an extent in some countries, but there's not much regulation at the moment, unfortunately. We would like regulation to actually come in, because it will gain more adoption in terms of the banks using the new payment system. That at the moment, so the big banks anyway are on the side waiting for regulational clarity to come in. So there is, the thing is as well, people look at regulation and think it's going to protect that person. The problem is there's a company called, a big company, I won't name their name, but they went bankrupt and they were fully regulated, and the clients lost all their money. Okay. So they were regulated by the official regulational boards, but unfortunately, I don't know what happened. The regulation boards didn't protect the clients, unfortunately. So I think regulation is very good to an extent, but I think it's something that you shouldn't rely on completely, if that makes sense as well. In terms of the balance sheet, yes, it is put onto your balance sheet and it is taxed as capital gains. Obviously, I can't give advice on the tax side of things, but yeah, it's taxed in certain jurisdictions. It is taxed in some jurisdictions. It's not.
Okay. All right. Thanks. So let's just sort of look at the nuts and bolts in the process here. If there's a business owner sitting here now and he's got some spare cash around and wants to generate an increased return, how does the process work with yourself?
Yeah, sure. So we send out all the information to the client, all transparency, the contract to let them read it, etc. We've got client profit examples as well, client feedback. So we always send out all the information to the clients, try and not overload too much information. We've got a brochure as well, which is really good. And then usually the client jumps on a Zoom call with us or has a meeting in person with us and goes through any questions that they have. We invest for a lot of business owners because I think the main point they say is they don't have time. Even though they love the idea of learning about it, they just don't have time running multiple businesses. And it's the same for families as well. Many families, they say, look, I just want to enjoy my time with my loved ones. I don't really have the time to learn the nuts and bolts of crypto. You guys do it. You guys manage it for me. That's absolutely fine. So it works very well. It works very smoothly. It's a smooth process. And once the client joins us, they have an app on their smartphone. And this tracks their portfolio daily, and the communication with us is absolutely brilliant. They can talk to us daily on the client Telegram chat, and they get monthly investment reports as well every single month, which are a bit long, I will admit. Sometimes they drag on a little bit, but there's a lot of very good value in there. I'm just very passionate about what I do. Once you get the crypto bug, you got the bug, so to speak. So
yeah. And have you got any examples, Will, of the sort of clients you've worked with and what sort of returns they've got? I'd be interested just to sort of know some
sure,
what people can be aware of, really.
So in 2019, end of 2019, we invested into a cryptocurrency called VeChain, which is VET, which I will talk briefly about a bit later. And this made returns between 10x and 60x by spring of 2021. Okay. So around just under a year, which is amazing. And the reason for that, part of the reason is it's called the Bitcoin halving event, which I will talk about a bit shortly. It's very predictive, this market. It's very easy to read. And the reason for that is the cycle moves every 4 years. So 2020 was the Bitcoin halving event. And that every single time since 2009 kickstarts the bull market. And it usually lasts around 1.5 to 2 years. Hence why those returns were massive in the space of, around a year and a half. So it's very predictive in terms of that. It's very easy to know when to buy and when to sell. So in 2022, the cryptocurrency market topped out, which is around 2 years from the Bitcoin halving event in 2020. We're now in 2023, which is accumulation. So it's come down here, it's going sideways now. It's gone up a tiny bit, Bitcoin's 30K, but it's going to drop back down to around 20K. And then next year, it will go through the roof for 2 years. Because that is when the Bitcoin halving event starts again. 4 years prior was 2020. 2024 is the new Bitcoin halving event, which is going to be amazing, absolutely fantastic.
So I've never heard of the Bitcoin halving event, and it sounds too good to be true. If you're sort of saying it comes around in a cycle, is that right? Have I missed something?
No, of course. And I think, to be honest with you, with crypto, everything sounds too good to be true. That's the hard part of it. Even when I've got family members and friends that are invested with me as well. And even they said, oh, that sounds too good to be true, surely. But when I show them, the data and the charts and the numbers, when they're not too bored to death of it, the numbers don't lie. Every 4 years, the Bitcoin halving event starts. And if people Google it, it will come up and it will explain it. I will explain it as well as I can. It means that the Bitcoin circulating supply cuts in half for the miners. So the miners are the computers that run the blockchain. So they run the transactions for Bitcoin, approve the transactions or not approve it. So when the transactions come in, they approve the transaction and then they get paid a certain amount of Bitcoin. Now, with circulating supply halving, the miners will get less. Okay, so the circulating supply is half. But here's the good thing. With the same demand and ever-growing demand, which is current and of evidence, clear evidence, the rate of return Bitcoin absolutely goes through the roof because there's the same demand, more demand, but less supply, half of the supply circulating, and in terms of the mining process. So that's why the rate of return is unbelievable. And I hope that explains it well in terms of, it does sound too good to be true. I 100% agree with that. But I hope that explains it in terms of the economics. It shows how it actually performs those rates of returns. Bitcoin usually does around 5x to 10x when the Bitcoin halving event starts within 2 years.
And is there a risk? You know, like if you invest in stocks and shares, always a risk it can go down. But if this Bitcoin halving's happening, it sounds like it's almost guaranteed as an improved return.
Yeah, I can't say guaranteed, but close to a guarantee. I could say. Very close, very close. Obviously, there's no guarantees in life. You know, anything, you know, could happen in the world suddenly. And that brings me to my point about inflation and the world as it is right now in terms of the economy. We don't tie our clients into the investments anymore. We used to tie them in for 1 year. The reason for that is because we wanted the client to understand it's not a get rich quick scheme. It does take time. It does take time, hence the market every 4 years. So some clients have been with us since 2018 and they've seen returns, but it does take time. I don't want this to sound like it is a get rich quick scheme. With that said, if people are entering the market, right now is the perfect time because next year is the Bitcoin halving event, as we've talked about, which is amazing. But yeah, of course, there's no guarantees. I don't want to say that, but it's very close to a guarantee. I can say that for sure.
Okay. All right, we're almost running out of time. So before I ask you sort of wrap up with some key points you want to raise, I just a bit point there you mentioned the Bitcoin halving event. Is that only for Bitcoin? Does it apply to Ethereum and other currencies as well?
To be honest with you, I mean, Bitcoin's the main driver of the market. So that is what everyone actually looks at in terms of an indication of where this market is going. It's very similar in terms of, in a way, to the US dollar, in terms of that's the reserve currency. Bitcoin, if you put it like that, is like a reserve currency in the cryptocurrency market, if that makes sense. People look at that as the data, the drive, where the market is going right now. It's gone up recently with the announcement of institutions such as BlackRock and Fidelity. They are looking to invest into cryptocurrency through ETFs, which is going to be absolutely massive for cryptocurrency. So the institutions are already here. They probably have been here already, and they're not going to miss out. But publicly, they are here and they are driving into the market. And what that means is basically the clients of those groups can invest through those firms into the market, which is absolutely unbelievable. You know, BlackRock have around $10 trillion under management. So, you know, that's a lot of money. You know, even if it's 1% coming into the market, with such a small market cap in crypto's around $1 trillion. We're going to see some massive upside over these next few years. What I will say is, right now we're waiting for a little market dip to buy back in. So I'm just being transparent with everyone. But over these next 2 years, for sure, we're going to see some big returns.
Okay, well, that's great. Thanks very much for that, Will. I've certainly learned a few things and got loads more questions as well. It's sort of opened this black box of something that looks really exciting and a lot of understanding to go through. So I appreciate your time, Will. So thanks very much for educating us. I'll leave the last word with you.
Thank you.
Anything specific that you want to just sort of leave people with?
I think for people looking into crypto, I think if you are going to invest yourself, just make sure you do your research and be very careful. If you want to invest through us, fantastic. Our door is open and you know how to get in contact with us. And I just hope I've added value, to be honest, for everyone. I hope I've kept it simple because the technology side of thing is quite complex, I will admit. But I think I've explained it well. And hopefully I haven't gone on too much because there's a lot to cover in crypto. And as I said, I'm very passionate about it as well. It's revolutionizing technology, from cross-border payments, authenticity of goods and products. Louis Vuitton have partnered with some cryptos to make sure their products are genuine, because obviously there's a lot of counterfeited goods out there, unfortunately. So that's another massive problem being solved by blockchain and cryptocurrency.
Well, that's great. Thanks very much for that, Will. And Will, if I could just ask you through our sort of no limits portal, etc., and on the chat in there, upload information so people can read through and
sure,
learn.
Not a problem.
And maybe Karen, let's just create a chat on crypto or so that people can sort of go on, ask questions. Will can keep an eye on it and reply. I'll keep an eye on it as well. Because I'm sure this is going to generate a lot of interest from people.
Yes, definitely. It's a really, really interesting topic. So I'm totally sure you will get plenty of queries from today's session.
Otherwise, I talk too much. I need the questions. Otherwise, I just go on one and go all over. So that sounds good, guys. If everyone can ask as many questions as they like, I'll happily get back to people. That's not a problem at all.
All right, that's great. Well, thanks very much for that, Will. Appreciate your time. You have a good day.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Karen.
All right.
Appreciate this.
Thank you, guys.
Take care,
Bye.
guys.
Have a lovely day.